Greetings, my friends. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Grit and Equity Talks podcast with yours truly, Dr. India White. I'm thrilled to be here with you this afternoon. I know so many of us in the math space are all over this planet doing great things in the name of math, in the name of education. And so thank you to all of those that have just welcomed us in all these different states. Had a wonderful time in Iowa, having a great time in New Hampshire, and looking forward to seeing you guys in British Columbia. With that said, I want to start the show with an announcement. The Grit and Equity Talks podcast with Dr. India White will be featured on the X Factor EDU, hosted by Dr. Matthew Joseph, and it can be found on Spotify. In addition to that, it'll also be on my main social media channel, so I encourage you to follow me. My Facebook's Miss India White. LinkedIn is The India White. Twitter is Indie Speak and Teach. Instagram is Indie238. YouTube is India White123. And TikTok is Dr. India White. Also, check out my website if you're wanting to schedule me for an event, if you're wanting a book or wanting to read a blog. There's lots of cool blogs out there. Trying to keep you guys abreast to all of the different gritty things that I'm finding out for you. And if you just want to collaborate in any other kind of way. Some upcoming events, thank you, Nebraska, for wanting me to be there. I pray that we'll be able to work something out in the next upcoming years or so. And the same with Ohio. You guys knew that I was in the middle of Hurricane Milton, so that just was not going to happen. ICTM, I had a fabulous time with you guys in Iowa. Thank you so much to everyone there. And thank you to FAMS for hosting me there as well. Enjoying ATM&E right now. Looking forward to Northwest, and I'm looking forward to the Making Math Moments virtual conference with all these amazing rock stars. You should see the lineup there. With that said, also check out the Grit Mini Workshop when you get a chance. Thank you so much to everyone at the Grassroots Workshops platform. I appreciate you guys for that. Now, I also want to remind you of the Grit Academy. We're accepting students all over the nation that are wanting tutoring services or wanting to learn on an online platform. Come holler at us so we can support you. Now, this podcast is if you're trying to close the achievement gap, but you've had classroom management issues or your students just aren't motivated to do the work, join this podcast today, Grit and Equity Talks podcast, to find out different things that can help. So with that said, I do want to talk today about grit. And I want to talk about how can we get unstuck through grit. Again, how do you use grit to help you get unstuck? So first things first is you have to understand what grit is. And we've spoken about it. Dr. Duckworth, she told us that grit was having the passion, perseverance to obtain long-term goals. But what does that look like when you feel like you're stuck in a rut? And I will reference a little bit about the hurricane and how, afterwards I felt super stuck emotionally, mentally. And sometimes we all get into a situation, whether it's because of trauma or, because of transitions or whatever, sometimes you feel stuck. Like, I don't know how to get out of this. I don't know how to move forward. And students feel that way. Teachers feel that way. Leaders feel that way. Family members feel that way. So we have to talk about some strategies. So I think we really have to start with a growth mindset. You have to start looking at, how do you envision life in a way that's positive, more optimistic, where you can breathe through, tough situations. And so, of course, my framework talks about 4 categories of having growth mindset, having self-efficacy, resilience, and time management. And through that helps you get unstuck, right? So let me go ahead and play for you or share with you actual, I want to share with you something I found about getting unstuck. And it was a really cool article, a psychology article today. So it's telling us this is telling us how we can get unstuck. So it says 21 ways to help yourself today get unstuck, right? So it says in these certain times, a lot of us feel stuck, right? There's a simple habit that'll help you feel less stuck, taking mindfulness pauses. Without pausing to embrace the present moment, the one we are experiencing right now, we are not as self-aware, interpersonally aware, or effective as we can be. And that's so true. We all been there, right? Then it says here, when we walk around without waking up to savor the moments of our lives, it's as if we switched off our internal cellular phone or cell phone. There's lots of data coming in, but we don't hear the messages. To get access to the information, we need to pause, notice the phone is off, and activate it. Without pausing, right, to pay attention, we can be deaf and blind to life's messages. That's powerful. It says, we don't notice what's most meaningful. We don't notice our own internal reality or the reality of the people in our lives and the world in which we live. So she's going to talk a little bit more about mindfulness. So she says here, research reveals that mindfulness and related skills that invite us to pause, take notice, or savor the moment are learnable and support well-being in the mind, brain, and the body. So we need to do these things. We have to stop, have a moment, and be mindful. And it says here, even a short daily mindful pauses, like the one I just did, can help positive shifts in our lives. So taking a mindfulness pause is a habit that involves simply focusing your attention. Whether you pause for a moment or a few moments, it can help to redirect yourself to get out of autopilot. You can become aware of your own internal experience without being blown away as frequently by the winds of life, right? Literally, right? And this can help you get unstuck from whatever you might be worrying about. So a lot of the unstuck might be because you have so many different thoughts and you're trying to process worry and things like that. Now, it says mindfulness is really paying attention right here, right now, so that all we need to do is pause and notice. So mindfulness leadership expert, she was talking about mindfulness leadership expert Maria Gonzalez writes that mindfulness principles can be woven into every aspect of our personal and professional lives, which is very true. So look, so it says, taking a mindfulness pause is a step-by-step, moment-by-moment habit anyone can do. It kind of reminds me of like yoga or something. It says, when we do this, we forget to pause and pay attention. If we have like an all or nothing experience, it says we forget to pay attention and pause, or if it's no big deal, then we remind ourselves to come back to noticing whatever the focus might be. The ability to paying attention is a human capacity. All of us can do it. Using a mindfulness pause to get unstuck is not just for the old or young, or for the leader or the worker, or for the believers or the non-believers. Noticing the present moment is a learnable skill for anyone who is willing to practice it. Like learning to sit, walk, or throw a baseball, we can practice and build our muscles of attention. So, and you can play those solitaire games and things like that too to help. I see a lot of people doing that on the plane, and it like helps to work your brain muscles. So it says here, 21 simple ways to take a mindfulness pause right now. Even if you never tried this kind of awareness before, there are many ways to take a quick mindfulness pause. To begin develop this habit, just pause briefly and focus your attention on where you are right now. Okay, so you got to be gritty enough to say, I'm going to focus my attention on those things. So, for one, pause between bites of food and savor the taste. Right? Don't do a Homer Simpson. Pause and enjoy it. This says, really pay attention to your experience as you wash your face and brush your teeth. Next, turn off, now this one's hard, right? Your personal electronic devices for an hour. Yeah, that's a big challenge for our youth, right? Stretch and notice, number 4. Stretch and notice the sensations of your body. 5, listen carefully with no agenda to the person speaking to you. The next one that they recommend here. 6, for a few breaths, observe that you are breathing. The feeling of the in-breath and out-breath. Let's look some more. Number 9, offer a few positive words from your heart. That would help everyone. Number 10, read an inspiring poem. I like number 13. Look at number 13. Notice a bird singing. How many times do we really get to do that? And even number 12, observe the sunset or the sunrise. Look at this next one. Number 14. I want to look at number 14. Stop for the sensations. Nice. Number 21, listen to music. Very nice. So they have the references. So this was written by mindfulness. This is Psychology Today. So that was kind of cool. That was really cool. And I think that when you have so much going on, it's imperative to be mindful and to put yourself, first and, not in a selfish manner, but just to slow down enough to realize that you're only human. There's only so much you can do. Right. So we learned something from that. I learned something. I'm going to definitely try to listen to a bird or sometimes even watching the star night, like the starlights and the stars. Sometimes you get so busy, you don't even see it, right? Like it's just like another part of life. Like you don't even care like enough to slow down enough to notice the little beautiful things of life, right? So I thought that was pretty cool. Now, let's look at another one that I was able to find for us on the web about just mindfulness and how we can get unstuck and how we can use grit to help us. So this is about mental health. This is by Dr. Roy Chowdhury, I think that's his name. How grit can improve your mental health and achieve your goals, right? Let's talk about it. So, that's pretty cool. Look, they're like climbing that. So it says, have you ever wondered why some people achieve their goals, right? Despite facing numerous challenges and setbacks? How do they manage, stay motivated, resilient, or optimistic in the face of adversity? What makes them different from those who give up easily or settle for mediocrity? So that reminds me of the question in my TED Talk, right? It says here, the answer may lie in a psychological trait called grit. It's a psychological trait called grit. Grit is defined as a combination of passion and perseverance for long-term goals. It's the ability to persist in something you care about and work hard to make it happen. It's not about luck, talent, or intelligence. It's about having a vision and sticking to it until you make a reality. That part, sticking to it. So in this article, it says they're gonna talk about how grit can improve your mental health and boost your performance goals. This will help you get unstuck, right? Because you're having that growth mindset. So it says whether you're a student, researcher, athlete, or coach, or anyone who wants to achieve more in their life, this article is for you. So what is grit? So he just talks about it's a personality trait someone possesses, where you have the grit, you have the perseverance and the passion to make it work so that you can achieve a long-term goal. I honestly think it's also for the short-term goals as well. And then you build that grit, right, towards that long-term goal. So then it says here, people who have grit are able to overcome challenges and difficulties, and they stick to their visions and values. Grit can help people to improve their mental health and achieve their goals in various domains of life. So now they're talking about Dr. Duckworth, the queen of grit, and it says here, she and her colleagues developed a grit scale, right? And it measures how passionate, persistent people are for their long-term goals. Cool. Grit has two main components, finding your passion and persevering against obstacles. Again, finding your passion and persevering against obstacles. So when you're finding your passion, you're exploring your interests, your values and strengths, and you're finding something that challenges you, excites you, or gives you this part, a sense of purpose. And I think that's why I was just talking to some friends about this last night. Sometimes students, they don't feel like they have a sense of purpose in a math class, right? But once you're able to make it relevant and tie it to what they're actually going to do in life, whether it's like their dad's business or if it's, that dream job they want, whatever, you're able to tie the relevancy in. That really helps to help them to remain gritty because they have a sense of purpose. And sometimes students actually need us to give them a sense of purpose so that they can cultivate grit as they're working. So here it says persevering against obstacles means viewing them as challenges rather than threats, adopting a growth mindset, which we all need, seeking feedback and improvement, and bouncing back from disappointment and frustration. Huge. Grit can be developed and strengthened over time by some tips, such as finding your passion, setting your goals, practicing your skills, embracing challenges, and celebrating successes. By developing grit, you can improve your mental health and achieve your goals in any area of life that matters to you. Cool. So then why is grit important for mental health, right? So it says mental health is a state of well-being where you can cope with the normal stresses, which we all have, right? It says it's influenced by many factors such as your genetics, environment, lifestyle, and personality. But then it says one factor that can have a significant impact on your mental health is how you choose to respond to challenges and difficulties, right? So research has shown that grit can actually enhance your mental health by reducing stress. Y'all hear this? Anxiety, depression, and burnout. Again, grit can enhance your mental health by reducing stress, anxiety, depression, and burnout. And the thing I love about grit is once you understand grit, you can really use it always to get yourself out of a rut. The thing I love about it is with my grit framework. So I talk about growth mindset, self-efficacy, resilience, and time management. So if you are able to get yourself out of a rut of depression or things like that, you're talking positively to yourself. You're choosing to have a growth mindset and not to harp on the negative things that have happened to you or the things that are happening, right? And then you talk about, starting fresh or going towards that goal again. You have to believe in yourself. So that's when you start pouring into that self-efficacy, right? You start talking positive and saying, I know I can do this. I believe it. I've done something similar before. And then, of course, having that resilience, choosing not to give up until you reach that goal. And then, of course, finishing it off with time management, making sure that you're meeting those goals, right? So that you can get into that level of happiness, satisfaction, and met goals and fulfill your purpose. So it says here, grit helps you to focus on positive aspects of your situation. So when you have a clear and meaningful goal that you're passionate about, just talk to you guys about that, right? It says you're more likely to see the opportunities and the benefits that come with it. So you're likely to appreciate the progress and achievements that you made along the way. That can boost your mood and your self-esteem. It talks here about how grit, if you have that and you can adopt a growth mindset, that means you can believe that you can learn and improve from your experiences, hence increasing your resilience. Okay. Now, how can grit then boost your performance goals? So boosting your performance goals are the outcomes that you want to achieve in a specific domain or task. And that's going to be related to academic achievement, athletic performance, artistic expression, or other forms or areas of expertise. And so that can be influenced by many things: motivation, ability, environment, and feedback. And one significant impact on your performance goals is grit, because research has shown that grit can boost your performance goals by enhancing motivation, effort, persistence, and learning. Grit can also help you to overcome distractions, procrastination, boredom, and fatigue. How? So there are some ways that grit can do this for us, guys. So let's listen to this. So it helps us to set high standards for performance goals, right? It helps us to cope with setbacks and failures. And it helps us to sustain our ability to perform and to meet our performance goals over time. So here's an example of grit. Michael Jordan, love it. The basketball legend is widely regarded as one of the largest or greatest athletes of all time. He was known for his relentless work ethic and competitive drive. He was cut from his high school basketball team when he was a sophomore. Oh, wow. He used this as motivation to practice harder and prove himself. He went on to win 6 NBA championships, 5 MVP awards, and 2 Olympic gold medals. I still think Michael Jordan is a GOAT. I know many people think it's so many other people. I don't want to go toe-to-toe with you with my arguments, but I will still conclude that he is the GOAT. It says he has also faced several challenges throughout his career, such as injuries, personal losses, retirements, comebacks, and controversies. He's always bounced back, though, from adversity. He's very resilient and strive to improve his goals. So everybody wants to be like Mike. And of course, we have Oprah Winfrey and we have Elon Musk. So how then do you develop grit? And I think those are some great examples there. So then how do we develop grit? What does that look like? So it says, for one, find your passion. Passion is the fuel that drives your perseverance. So you've got to explore your interests, values, and strength. Get quiet and find out, what are you really passionate about, and go after it. Stop living everybody else's dream and live your own dream, right? Find out what your purpose is. The next one, set your goals. To set your goals, be specific, realistic, and measurable. You have to ask yourself what you want to achieve, why you want to achieve it, and how will you achieve it, right? The next, practice your skills, okay? To practice those skills, you've got to be deliberate, consistent, and feedback-oriented. Embrace challenges, and then celebrate those successes. Always. We don't do enough celebrating, to be honest. It says you need to acknowledge your efforts and achievements without being arrogant or complacent. You have to share your successes with others and inspire them to pursue their own goals. So that was pretty cool. So I think that when you're really trying to build grit and you're trying to um, not only bounce back, but you're trying to become unstuck, I really think that it's imperative that you realize, where you are, what the focus is, what the goal is, where you are in your journey, and being able to utilize those, quiet moments of meditation, those quiet moments of reflection, and, being able to pace yourself, having those breathing skills, knowing what your long-term goals are, knowing what your short-term goals are, and then being faithful to those. And then I also think one thing they didn't talk about, but I think you should reach out for support to become unstuck, because sometimes people will bring to you an energy that you don't have, an energy that you want, but you just can't seem to get that. That's why I love going to different conferences and things like that to see people, because they lift me and I lift them, like we help each other. And I think that, no matter what your background is, your work environment, you have the ability to bring that positive energy, that positive light, wherever you are. So with that said, just think about how you can become unstuck by remaining, resilient and having a growth mindset, choosing to restart, choosing to tell yourself, I've got to bounce back and get out of this rut, and don't do it alone. Find a team of people, and thankful for Dr. Seda, who was encouraging me today, because I had some craziness with the hurricane, and she was just letting me know. She's like, you have your sisters here, girl. And I was like, thank you. So, find your tribe of people that love you, that will be there to lend a hand when you need it. And be honest. Sometimes we're not always going to be Superman or Superwoman or whatever. Like, we're not always going to be heroes. Sometimes we do need to just keep it real and be honest and be vulnerable. And so with that said, I do want to also thank you all from the bottom of my heart for helping us when we were going through that craziness with Hurricane Milton. It's one day at a time. We're bouncing back. We're still on the phone with FEMA, still figuring out these things. But with that said, we need to stick together. We're a force, and we're better together than we are alone. And so there's even a scripture that talks about, if a man falls and he's alone, how that's like not good, but it's better to have somebody with you. So anyways, with that said, thanks so much for joining me on the Grit and Equity Talks podcast with your host, Dr. India White. Thank you so much for joining me on the Let's Get Gritty podcast with Dr. India White. You can make sure that you are getting tuned to this episode. It will be featured again on the it will be featured on Spotify. It will also be featured on all of my social media outlets. Also, social media outlets, you can follow me on Facebook, Miss India White. LinkedIn is The India White. Twitter is Indie Speak and Teach. Instagram is Indie238. YouTube is India White 123, and TikTok is Dr. India White. Upcoming events, we are living this out. I will see you guys at Northwest Conference coming up. I'm excited to speak tomorrow at in ATM&E, and I'm looking forward to South Carolina, and I'm looking forward to the Making Math Moments Conference. And if you are wanting me to speak at your conference, please reach out. Thank you so much to Indiana and to Vermont for electing me to be your keynotes for 2025. I'm looking forward to joining you guys there as well. With that said, I do want to also remind you guys to check out the Grit Mini Workshop on the Grassroots Workshops website. And if you're wanting a discount for the equity books or Grit books, or if you're wanting to have me come out and speak and things like that, you can check out the website, www.india-white.com, and I would be honored to join you guys, whatever it is that you guys have going on. Also, remember the Grit Academy. I am taking students for tutoring all throughout the state of Florida and throughout the nation. So with that said, guys, you guys have been absolutely fabulous. From the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. And no matter what, remember to take grit with you. Thank you so much again for joining me on this amazing, amazing podcast. Remember to take grit with you. Grit is great resilience in time. And until next time, stay gritty. See ya.